It usually happens in the evening. You're sitting down after dinner, maybe the TV's on, but you're not really watching it, and you find yourself doing that quiet mental math you swore you'd stop doing once you retired. You know the kind. You're thinking about next month's bills, the property tax notice that came last week, the credit card balance that isn't bad, but isn't nothing either. And you think, I thought this part was supposed to feel easier. Not extravagant, not carefree, just easier. You did what you were supposed to do. You worked, you saved, you delayed things you wanted, you listened to advice. And now the paychecks have stopped, the income is predictable, and yet there's this low-grade tension that never quite leaves. Like you're always one unexpected expense away from having to reshuffle everything again. It's not panic. It's not crisis. It's more like a quiet pressure sitting just behind your ribs. I've spent a lot of time thinking about that feeling, about why retirement feels steady on paper but strangely fragile in real life. My name is Robert, and somewhere along the way, probably after watching too many friends and family members go through this phase, I became a little obsessed with understanding why fixed-income retirements so often feel tighter than anyone expected. What I've learned is that most people don't run out of money because they were reckless. They don't overspend wildly. They don't make some dramatic, obvious mistake. Instead, something else happens. There's a cost, not a bill, not a line item, not a number you can circle in red that slowly eats away at retirement plans. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't trigger alarms. It just quietly shows up month after month, year after year, until one day you realize you're being more careful than you thought you'd have to be. And once you see this cost for what it really is, it changes how you think about retirement, not in a scary way, in a grounding way, a clarifying way, like finally understanding why the room always felt a little colder than the thermostat said it should. So that's what I want to talk about today, not to sell you anything, not to warn you about disaster, just to walk through this together calmly, honestly, like two people sitting at the same kitchen table, trying to make sense of how something that looks stable can still feel so uncertain. Let's slow it down and take a closer look. There's something comforting about the word asterisk fixed. Fixed income. Fixed payment. Predictable, reliable, safe. For years, decades really, we're trained to see consistency as security. If the check arrives every month and the number doesn't change, that feels stable. It feels like solid ground. And in a way, it is. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't discover until retirement is already underway. Income can be steady while purchasing power quietly shrinks. Let me paint a picture. You retire at 67, your Social Security benefit starts. Maybe you've got a pension, not as common anymore, but still out there, or an annuity. The numbers look fine. You did the math, you built the budget, you even padded things a bit. And for the first year or two, everything lines up. Then prices start creeping. Not in a dramatic way. Just eggs cost a little more, utilities tick up, insurance renewals come with new explanations and higher premiums, property taxes adjust. Your income didn't go down, but somehow it doesn't stretch the way it used to. That's because fixed income is only fixed in asterisk nominal asterisk terms. Life, unfortunately, operates in asterisk real terms. And that gap between what your income says on paper and what it actually buys, that's where the hidden cost starts doing damage. Most retirees don't see it as a threat at first. They just adjust, you skip a few extras, you delay a purchase, you shrug and say, that's just how things are now. But those little adjustments, they add up. And the danger isn't the adjustment itself, it's how normal it becomes. Inflation sounds like one of those words meant for economists and news anchors. Big charts, percentages, arguments on TV. But in retirement, inflation isn't theoretical. It's personal. It shows up at the grocery store when you catch yourself saying, "Didn't this used to be cheaper?" It's at the gas pump, at the dentist, at the mechanic who suddenly charges more for the same work. And here's what makes inflation especially dangerous for retirees. You can't just work more to offset it. When you were younger, rising costs were annoying but manageable. You'd get raises, pick up over time. change jobs, hustle a little. No, your income is largely locked in. Yes, Social Security has cost of living adjustments, but let's be honest, they rarely match how seniors actually spend money. Healthcare, housing, insurance, those tend to rise faster than the official inflation numbers. So even when you asterisk get an increase, it often feels like it arrived late and didn't go far enough. Over time, inflation turns a comfortable retirement into a cautious one. Not overnight, over years. And because it's gradual, people underestimate its power. A 3% increase doesn't sound like much, but stretch that over 10, 15, 20 years, it's enormous. That's the thief. Quiet, persistent, never taking a day off. This one catches a lot of people off guard. You spend your working years paying taxes on income. You finally retire, and there's this unspoken assumption, well, at least that part eases up. Sometimes it does. Often not as much as you expect. Social Security may be partially taxable. Required minimum distributions kick in. Withdrawals from certain accounts count as income. Medicare premiums adjust based on reported income. And suddenly money you thought was yours starts shrinking before it even hits your checking account. What makes taxes such a destructive hidden cost is the confusion. The rules are complicated, they change, and nobody sends a clear roadmap. So retirees do what people always do when things feel unclear. They avoid looking too closely. But avoidance has a price. A few extra $1,000 in taxable income can push you into higher Medicare premiums. Small decisions compound, and because the system is layered, you don't feel the impact all at once. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. And the paperwork alone is enough to make anyone sigh. No matter how well you plan, healthcare has a way of blowing holes in retirement budgets. You can estimate premiums, you can choose plans, you can even budget generously. And still costs creep. Copays increase, medications change, something unexpected pops up, a fall, a procedure, a diagnosis that requires ongoing care. Healthcare expenses don't just rise with inflation, they often outpace it. And here's the part that really matters. Healthcare costs tend to rise as income flexibility declines. You're spending more at the exact moment you're least able to absorb it. That pressure forces trade-offs. And those trade-offs chip away at quality of life. This is where many retirees start dipping into savings faster than planned, and once that starts, it's hard to slow down. This one is ironic. We want long lives, we plan for long lives, and yet the longer we live, the more stress it puts on fixed income plans. Most retirement projections assume a lifespan, but life doesn't check the spreadsheet. Living 5 or 10 years longer than expected isn't a failure, it's a blessing. But financially, it stretches resources thinner than anticipated. And inflation doesn't pause out of courtesy. So retirees face a strange paradox. The better things go medically, the more careful finances must become. It's not something people talk about openly, but it's real. This might be the most overlooked cost of all. Living on a fixed income under constant pressure changes how people think, how they decide, how they feel. You hesitate more. You worry quietly. You second-guess small purchases. That mental load matters. Retirement is supposed to be a time of ease, or at least relief from constant financial vigilance. But when hidden costs keep tightening the margins, peace of mind becomes the first thing to go. And once that's gone, even enough money doesn't feel like enough. Rarely does one expense destroy a retirement. It's the accumulation. A little more for groceries. A little more for insurance. A little less purchasing power every year. The ship doesn't capsize. It slowly takes on water. And unless you notice early, you end up bailing instead of steering. The answer isn't panic. And it's not extreme frugality. It's awareness, flexibility, and realistic planning. Understanding where the pressure points are, building small buffers, revisiting plans instead of assuming they're set forever. It's okay to adjust. It's okay to rethink. It's okay to ask for help or second opinions. Retirement isn't a finish line, it's a long walk. So here we are. If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's not fear, it's clarity. The hidden cost that destroys fixed income retirements isn't one thing. It's the slow erosion caused by inflation, taxes, healthcare, longevity, and the quiet psychological weight of caution. None of these are failures. They're realities. And once you see them clearly, they lose some of their power. Retirement doesn't have to be perfect to be peaceful. It just needs to be understood. You've already done the hard part. You worked, you saved, you planned. Now it's about adjusting gently, thoughtfully, and without self-blame. Money is a tool. Time is a gift. And peace of mind is worth protecting. Take a breath. You're not behind. You're just paying attention. And honestly, that makes all the difference.